This is Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, the scientific healer. And today what we're going to talk about is how your body speaks to you. You know, people are not aware that there are little signals that happen the whole time. At first, it's a little whisper, and then it's a tap on the shoulder, and then the little voice gets louder, then it bonks you on the head, and finally it knocks you off your feet. And what you don't want is to get to steps 3, 4, and 5. You want to start listening. And I got inspired this morning because I was just having a conversation with someone that I helped about a year ago. She had gone to a doctor and spent like $5,000 trying to get something happening. Something was happening in her abdomen, and she felt really sick and didn't feel good at all and couldn't do her job. She was running a business, and she called me up and she said, "Can you help me, Anastasia?" And I spent a few minutes with her, and it cleared it right away. And I asked her the question, like, what is it that you're not able to stomach right now in your business? And so now what she's done is she has outsourced that part of her business, and the problem has not recurred again. So let's just go through how this actually works. We know from scientific research that in the situation of various emotions, that they will warm or cool your body in different places. So for example, when you're feeling happy and content, your whole body is energized from head to toe, and it feels like very warm. Your hands, like the more you relax, the warmer your hands get, the warmer your feet get. That means that you're filling in your body. And if you're angry or upset, the warmth will be mainly in this torso area, while your hands and feet will be cold. And then when you're really sad, the whole body cools down. And what this is really saying is that the energy is running along the meridians of the body, which we know from from research that there are lines of energy that you can trace with an instrument, even though there's no physical structure. And in the 1990s, Candace Pert discovered what these all they were receptors. She was looking for endorphin receptors, and she discovered that they were all lined up along the meridians of the body, and therefore a lot of the other receptors are there. And if you look at what the Indian or the Far East call chakras, there are a series of nerve endings as well as other receptors in those areas. So we know that the old ancient medicines have really a relevance in, scientific research is showing how well these connect to one another, that the physical body, your emotions, and all of that. So now let's just go over what is it that your body is telling you. So 3 years ago, right after my mom died, my eyes, the white part of my eyes got very, very bloodshot and red, and then everything swole up all around my eyes. And I thought maybe it was an allergic reaction, but it turned out somebody said, "What is it that you're seeing that you don't want to see? What's the image?" And I knew immediately what she meant by that. And I started cutting cords to that vision, and the redness disappeared overnight. And I had tried everything for about 2 weeks, and nothing was working. I was sending a lot of healing, and usually my healings on myself work, but it was that emotional charge that it was a very ugly image of when they were unpacking some of my mom's bed sores that were really, I knew immediately that had shocked me to a point where my eyes just did not want to register that, right? So let's talk about some of the various ways that your body is talking to you. So a lot of people complain to me that their knees hurt. So there's a couple of reasons. One thing is that when you're not centered, meaning that you're not occupying your whole body, and that the heart of your spirit and the heart of your body are not aligned, And what'll happen is that we tend to pull ourselves up and out of our body when something's unpleasant. And so the way that manifests is lower back pain, problems in the sexual organs, kidney problems, adrenal problems, knee problems, leg pain, hip pain, and those things. But if you really consider it, for example, knee pain, so you need your knees to march forward, to go forward. And when there's a lot of pain in there, it's the unwillingness to move forward. So the question that you could ask yourself is, what is it in my life that is holding me back and not allowing me to move forward? And usually it's something emotional, a message that you got told when you were very young and that you have internalized somehow, and it comes out that way. In the area of sexual organs or the sacral area, anything that's happening in there, it's usually something going on with a partnership, but it could also be a suppression of your creativity. So you can ask yourself, what part of me am I not allowing to be birthed? And if it is somewhere in your lungs, like you have asthma or some kind of other lung problem, having difficulty breathing, or even in the area of your heart, but usually in lungs, because lungs, when you breathe in, you expand and you will fill a bigger space. So in terms of why am I not allowing myself to be here and to fill up that larger space, to fulfill a larger destiny? And there are many, many others. In terms of diabetes, for example, the blood sugar is regulated by the pancreas, and the pancreas represents the sweetness of life. And so you could ask yourself, and especially older people, as they get older, they have a tendency towards type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes basically is a misregulation of, it's the insulin sensitivity or the ability for the insulin to do its job. So the poor pancreas will be pumping out as much insulin as possible, and the insulin sensitivity of your cells are just simply not there. The receptivity is gone, and that is regulated by the sweetness of your life. And you will also notice that you'll want to eat more sweets than normal, and that's because you're trying to make your body and your life sweet. Right. So there are a whole host of things that could happen. So anything in the stomach, what is it I'm not willing to stomach anymore? As I said, in the eyes, what is it I'm not willing to look at the moment? Is there a horrible picture, or even looking deep within yourself to see what's happening? And then there are also other questions you can ask yourself. When you're very angry all the time, it can affect your liver and gallbladder, because those two meridians will govern anger, rage, fury. All of that will come out in those places. And so you can ask yourself, why am I angry? Am I angry at myself? That's usually the case, but you can also be angry at something outside yourself. And usually when you're angry at something outside yourself, it's a mirror holding up to what it is like the question I ask when I get angry at somebody else, I ask myself, what is it in me that I see in them that's angering me? Right? That, I'm upset with myself. So there are a series of questions that you can ask yourself. Lungs, heart, how is your heart broken? Did you break your own heart? Is it something in you, or is it your circumstances? And a lot of older people also have not had their dreams and their wishes fulfilled, and so their hearts break. Right? They end up with heart trouble of some sort or another. Right? So there's a lot of ways in which your body talks to you. So now the question is, once you start recognizing it, what do you do about it? Just like in the case of my friend this morning, as I was chatting with her, and I said, well, that's the ideal Facebook Live, is to teach people that their body is telling them something wherever it hurts. For example, if your back is hurting, how are you not feeling supported? Or how are you not supporting yourself? And did you know that research shows that when it's your back, some people think that their back's all crooked, or they have something pinched, or something's off with their back. And the really interesting thing is that people that have had a lot of backaches compared to people that haven't, they've done x-rays and MRIs of backs that are healthy and not painful compared to backs that are in a lot of pain, and they have not found any physical differences. For example, my back has 3 kinks in it. I have what they call scoliosis. My back is very, very crooked. And yet, and from the ages of 19 to about 54, I was in a lot of pain. Sometimes I would have to walk around with an ice pack on my waist for me to be able to do my job when I was a professor at the university. I had a lot of stress and things like that. And after that age, when I quit and I first moved to Houston, and then I moved to Los Angeles in the end of 2008, I moved back to Los Angeles, and all my back pain has completely disappeared. Now, it helps that I do deadlifts in the gym. I was just doing those yesterday, and I did 105-pound deadlifts. I'm working my way back up to where I was 3 years ago. But yeah, so I lift weights in the gym, and that helps. But if I hadn't resolved the emotional thing that was going on with me, then I would still have those backaches, because there's nothing different. And it used to be that I had to be really careful what chair I sat on, be really careful how hard my bed was. The harder, the better. I had fewer backaches, and so on. And I used to run 6 miles before breakfast. So there was no real answer as to why my back hurt. And now it does not hurt anymore, and I don't develop back spasms. So you can tell that the reason was emotional and not anything to do with my scoliosis and my crooked spine and all of that. Another one that I just thought of that's very similar is feeling a lot of tension in your shoulders, especially across the middle of your back between your shoulder blades, right? So what burden are you carrying that's not yours to carry? Like being over-responsible. Like people like me tend to be over-responsible. I'm the oldest of 4 children, when I was younger, was blamed for everything going wrong in the house. And I took that burden on through life, and I experienced a lot of tension between my shoulder blades. And I don't have that anymore, because I recognized what it was, released the burden that wasn't mine to carry. And that has helped me tremendously. So this was just a little bit of an inspiration of how your body speaks to you long before you actually get sick. So if you have any of those symptoms, pain anywhere, it doesn't matter where, and the doctors can't find anything wrong with you, don't get surgery yet. Let's start talking about what's going on with you and how you can get that released. I'm always happy to be having a conversation with you. Please say hello to me and put in any questions you might have. I see there's one. What about gout in the shoulders? Well, gout is also, so a lot of people get gout in their feet. So let me just answer that. A lot of people get gout in their feet, but what if you get gout in the shoulders? So your body, there's a chemical imbalance, your body will send it to where you're feeling the weakest. So I had a giant tumor in my uterus, and my partnership, my marriage, my ex-husband, was troublesome, but I didn't want to look at it. So what I did was I buried it in my body, and it could have shown up anywhere, but it showed up in my uterus because I was not allowing myself to be born. So if you have gout in the shoulders and not in the feet, then means that you're carrying a burden that you don't need to be carrying, right? Okay, no wonder on my toughest day I'm so cold. Yes, when you are depressed and when you are feeling like you're shrinking with shame or guilt, which shrinks you, the shame or the guilt or the depression will stop the flow of energy in your body, and it will really make you cold. So depression, what's depression? Depression is actually some other emotion, usually turned inside out, and something that it's hard to look at. Like I also used to have a tendency towards depression, and when I gave up grains, that stopped. And so there are some foods that will cause your body to slow down. That's something that you're sensitive to, not necessarily allergic to. And common problems, the four most common problems are sugar, grains, dairy products, and stimulants. So if any one of those foods, what I would suggest is going off one or more of them for a week at a time and see what happens. It can't hurt. It might not register on an allergy test. It can't hurt. And I discovered my problem with grains is that I restricted them to some oats every morning with breakfast, a small amount, a quarter cup of dry oats, very small amount. And I would feel great until breakfast, and then I'd get depressed after breakfast. So I then skipped the grains completely. I had to, of course, do some detective work to figure out, leaving off one at a time until I discovered it was the oats. So then I left off the grains entirely, and my depression lifted. I lost 10 pounds in a matter of a week. So it was holding the water on, which is the body's way of trying to dilute the poison, right? It holds water. And since then, and a lot of my joint pain disappeared. So you know, it can be something that you're taking on. And of course, wherever your emotions are sending the problem, right? Wherever your emotions are sending the problem is where it will show up. Okay, that's all I have for today. If there are no more questions, I don't see any. Okay, a lot of headaches. Been having a lot of headaches lately. So headaches are a form of stress. So when I had headaches, like I was in a couple of accidents where my head was bumped, and when that stress got released out of my skeletal structure, that really helped. So we will hold on to things for a very long time. So it may be something really old, and it may be something new. So that's something that you and I, Chris, have to talk about. Okay, so any other questions? I'm happy to answer it. And I have put my contact information in the description here at scientifichealer.com/contact to write me a note and to find out more about the kind of healing that I do to help people resolve it, just like I mentioned at the beginning, to resolve this energetic block in my friend's stomach. Go to scientifichealer.com/energize me. It describes a long-term program that I have going. And I would be happy to also, I have many short-term programs that are preambles to this longer-term program. And you and I can talk about how, which one is right for you. It fits in all financial categories. Okay, love you all. Thank you so much. Oh, and update on my husband. I sent out the note this morning about how he is now home and recovering. I thank you so much for all your prayers. And I am going to include them in anybody who sends me a request, I will send it out to my list for people to also pray for them. and I would really, love to get that started. I know how well it works. So Noel is now home. He's recovering. His surgery is over. He's out of pain. He's still slow. He came back last Wednesday. He's still a little slow, but he's out taking walks. He comes shopping with me, and he's starting to integrate himself back into life by, doing some light household things like frying eggs for himself and even throwing in a little bit of laundry.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or 5-star rating, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I will be seeing you next week in the next video.